Hi and welcome back. Welcome back to this cozy corner of the internet. This is going to be a place where we discuss books, where we discuss life, and maybe show you a few snippets here and there of how I live life in my 20s. Now, one thing that I've decided to do recently on this channel is post about what I read every month. So, every month I will be putting up one video consistently where I show you what books I've read this month and probably also what books I plan on reading the next month and stuff. Pardon the audio quality because I don't have a mic as of now. I know the camera quality is also not that great yet, but we're working on it. So you will have to bear with me on that for a few more months maybe. And yeah, hopefully by then we'll work something out. So these are the books that I read for the month of October. I hope the video kind of inspires you to pick one or two books up if you have been in a reading slump lately. With that, let's get started. Okay, so the first two books that I read this month were Penguin Little Black Classics, which I currently have two of them right here with me, but I promise I read two other Penguin Little Black Classics when I was on a tour to Andaman this month. I did manage to read A Pair of Silk Stockings and three other short stories by Kate Chopin. These were four amazing witty short stories in which Kate Chopin, I think, explores concepts of grief, longing, self-love, and just witticism. I really loved all the four short stories, but I do not have the exact hard copy with me right now. It's kept somewhere downstairs and I'm too lazy to bring it up, so you'll have to trust me on that. I also read Nikolai Gogol's The Nose and one other short story. So The Nose is basically a short story in which a man wakes up one day and finds that his nose has gone missing, and the nose has started dressing up as a very aristocratic official and is kind of marching around the town, and his barber kind of finds out that the person who he grooms and kind of cuts his hair, his nose has suddenly replaced its location and found itself in a bowl of soup in the food that he's eating, and he's terrified. And so it's a really funny story. You should read that 100%. The next book that I read this month was Kahlil Gibran's The Broken Wings. I have read Kahlil Gibran's The Prophet before, and The Broken Wings is the second time that I'm reading Gibran's work. It's very difficult to describe how Gibran writes without being biased to him and the way that he presents his words. He really strings his words in such a poetic way that it manages to kind of strike a chord in your heart. No matter where you are, in which age you belong, what you are doing, it just doesn't matter. His words are such that it will strike a chord in your heart. This particular story is set in Lebanon, and it's between the narrator and his love for Selma Karami, who he has fallen in love with. But the story is very tragic because, as the title suggests, it's about the broken wings of a lover who has loved a girl very passionately, and this love has almost brought him on the verge of a spiritual transformation. However, it doesn't really become fruitful, or it doesn't really take a much more fruitful turn, because there's this Christian authoritative priest, who has his eyes set upon this girl and his father's property. So he wants to kind of marry his, not a priest exactly, but a bishop who wants to marry his nephew to this girl. And his father, although a very wise man, knows that nobody has ever escaped the bishop's words. So denying the bishop would be like equivalent to denying, for example, let's say the government in today's world. So he's like, no, you have to really marry her. And so it's a very tragic story about two people, their love, and the hypocrisy of religion, so-called religion. So yeah, that's The Broken Wings by Kahlil Gibran. The next two books, the next two books that I managed to read are also Penguin Little Black Classics. These are Aphorisms on Love and Hate by Friedrich Nietzsche and Socrates' Defense by Plato. Now on my right hand, right here, is Socrates' Defense by Plato. So Socrates was an ancient Greek philosopher and also an enlightened being who was sentenced to death by the then Greek government slash monarchy for corrupting the youth of Athens, because he constantly emphasized on one thing, that I know only that I don't know. So I'm better in other people, I'm better than other people in the fact that I know that I don't know. So this is a book based on that. You must pick it up. This should be one of the most important readings in university and colleges, although the word structure and the way that the words have been strummed may be a little bit difficult, in the first reading. But if you really happen to manage to course through the sentences, it's a really, really important reading. You should pick this up. He was nevertheless again voted against and sentenced to death, but he was never afraid of death. I would like to read out a few sentences from here. I have really underlined a lot. He says, "It's not from money that excellence comes, but from excellence, money, and the other things. All of them come to be good for human beings, whether in private or in public life." Then he says, "Because if you do put me to death, you won't easily find anyone else quite like me, wherever you may be. Another one like me, Athenians, as I say, it won't be easy for you to find, and if you take my advice, you'll spare me. But probably you'll be irritated at me, and like people who are woken up as they're nodding off, you'll hit out at me, taking Anytus's advice instead of mine. And the easy course of putting me to death, after which you'll spend the rest of your lives asleep, unless in his care for you the god should send someone else to stop you." He's constantly saying that, you don't know anything, but you assume that you know. And people are so irritated by Socrates because this man tells me I don't know anything. Also, the people kind of sentenced Socrates to death because of the fact that he said, "I don't believe in gods." He said on death, "Death may even be the greatest of all good things for a human being. No one knows. Yet people fear it as if they knew for sure it's the greatest of bad things. And how is this kind of ignorance not reprehensible, thinking one knows when one doesn't?" That is, my friends, Socrates' Defense by Plato. And it has been translated by Christopher Rowe. I hope I could show that to you. We'll take a little break here, and I would like to show you a book that I have written. It's a poetry book. I've written it with a lot of love. These poems were composed back in 2023 when I was going through a lot of, I should say, emotional roller coasters, a lot of questions, a lot of confrontations within me. So I would love for you to pick this up on yourself. It's available on Amazon. It's called Life's Melodies, and it's written by me. So it's a very thin, book. It consisted of some 23, 24 poems, but these are all written by me with so much love. I promise you'd love it. Please go search it in Amazon, and it's not very expensive. I think it's 200 rupees. Pick it up and let me know how I can improve my writing, because that's the only way that I know how I can, serve you better. On the back, I've written, it's a set of eerie and hopefully gut-wrenching poems that will make you ponder over your own existence, and also possibly may inspire you to take life a little less seriously and a lot more playfully. It may also, as the title suggests, help you to heal a broken heart. So these are a set of 23 odd poems. I would please request you to pick these up. Let me know in the comments how you liked it or you didn't like it. Any critical feedback is welcome. Okay, the next book that I read the half of while I was in Andaman is, I didn't really read half of it, but about 40 pages of this book. And might I say, it's some of the most disturbing sentences I've ever come across. But it's very passionate in the way that it's written, and I love passion. So I'm talking about, this was one of those infamous books for which the author was almost not just cancelled, not just banned, put under life threat, death threat, whatever it is. I'm talking about Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, wherein a person falls in love with these young girls, more like falls in lust with these young girls, and Lolita is particularly one of those girls he really madly falls in love with, quote unquote. So on the back it says, Humbert, a European intellectual adrift in America, is a middle-aged college professor. Haunted by the memories of a lost adolescent love, he falls outrageously and eventually illegally in lust with his landlady's 12-year-old daughter, Dolores Hayes. Obsessed, he'll do anything, will commit any crime to possess his Lolita. I'll read you the first line. You'll be shocked. Lolita, the light of my life, the fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita, the tip of the tongue, taking a trip of 3 steps down the palate to tap at 3 on the teeth. Lolita. She was low, plain low in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in one sock. She was Lola in slacks. She was Dolly at school. She was Dolores on the dotted line, but in my arms, she was always Lolita. I didn't have the courage to go through this book. I'll try my best, but yeah, these are the books that I read in the month of October. I hope you loved them. I hope it kind of inspired you to pick up a book or two on your own, and if it did, don't forget to mention which book you're currently reading. I hope you took care of yourself today. I hope you ate something today and drank something today and moved your body today. Bye.